Hello class, welcome to Advanced Engineering Physics or ES12, and today's topic is properties and state of a substance. So when we say or heard about the state and properties of a substance, the most common example we will use or we heard is if we have a given mass of water. So initially water is in liquid form. I don't know sa inyo, but sa amo it is in liquid form. So if it is heated, it would become vapor, and if it is cold, it is become solid. So by that, we describe different states of a or phase of a substance. Now, let's define what is phase. So phase is defined as the quantity of matter that is homogeneous throughout. So when we say phase, the most common term or we say that comes up in our mind is that it is also describes the physical distinction or distinctive form of a substance. So we have solid, liquid, gas, plasma. Na? So in each phase, the substance may exist at various pressures and temperatures or any thermodynamic term that is in varied state. So defined or described by certain observable microscopic properties, which is some of that observable or familiar ones are the temperature, pressure, and density. So each properties of a substance that has one definite value. This is properties have the same value in a given state. So one definite value only. So regardless of how the substance arrived at that state, in fact, if we define property, so can be defined as the quantity that depends on the state of the system and is independent of the path. So independent siya either how the water becomes solid or how it becomes vapor or by means, no, by which the system arrived at the given state. And so we define property, and then when we say properties, the thermodynamic properties can be defined into general classes. So we have intensive property and the extensive property. So first, let's define intensive property. Intensive properties are properties that do not depend on the mass of the system. Again, it doesn't depend on the mass of the system, so such as temperature, pressure, density, and velocity. So if we get the formulas of these ones, you can observe that it doesn't depend on the mass of a certain system. No, and the other is the kabaliktaran ng intensive property, that is the extensive property. So properties that depend on the mass of the system, so such as volume, momentum, and its kinetic energy. And so frequently when we refer to not only to the properties of the substance, but also to the properties of a system. So thus we imply that the value of the property has significance for the entire system. No? So this implies equilibrium. Now let's define what is equilibrium. Equilibrium refers to a state balance under the condition where no unbalanced potentials of driving forces within the system. So we have different thermodynamic equilibrium. So we have thermal equilibrium, phase equilibrium, and mechanical equilibrium. So again, refers to the state of balance. So let's define first the thermal equilibrium, a state wherein the temperature is the same throughout the entire system. So again, from the word thermal, so we refer to the temperature in the system. So example of that one is thermos. No? If you have a thermos, so what we store in thermos are those the hot water. No? So if it is in ideal ideal boundary of a system. So walay makagawas na heat or temperature sa thermos, no? So if unsa siya iyang temperature nga imong gisulod sa thermos, so kung isolated siya, then that would be the same temperature throughout the entire system, no? So next is the thermal equilibrium. So thermal equilibrium, a mechanical equilibrium, a state wherein there is no change in pressure at any point of the system with time. So the pressure is the same at any point of the system. So walay again, if it is isolated from the surroundings, so walay pressure na walay forces or any means that will change the pressure in the system, no? So it's still the same throughout the point in time. Next is we define the phase equilibrium. Phase equilibrium is a state wherein the phase of the system involving two or more phase stays the same at a point in time. So the phase is still the same in the point in time. So if it's in liquid, it's still in a liquid state until until some point in time. So next topic, we will define and elaborate more on processes and cycles. So hopefully dili ra kayo ni siya taas na video. So let's meet again for the processes and cycles.